Hey guys, welcome back to BitsBeTrippin. This is your host Carter. Let's get into this. We are going to cover the top 5 things BBT Carter, myself, look at in this market, this industry, in cryptocurrency. I get this question a lot. People are like, how do you look across the landscape and see any reason during like a bear market, as an example, to participate in this space? If you're mining, if you're purchasing cryptocurrencies, if you're a developer trying to get into the space and saying, well, everything's, I see teams letting go of people. Well, what do you do? Well, what am I looking at that gives me confidence in this space? And we're going to cover that right after this sponsor, which we'll talk a little bit about after this video too.
Bitcoin mining is more than just a trend. It's an art. A revolution of how sound money works and is made. Being part of an industry that has 10x'd in value over the past year requires unprecedented levels of flexibility and versatility. It's life on the edge. ASIC Jungle is built on a set of core values: trust, leadership, and competitiveness. Here, we want to do more than just our job. We want to change lives, impact the future, and be something bigger than ourselves. We want to make sure that everybody has a chance to be part of this new revolution called Bitcoin.
All right, guys, let's get into this. So the core 5 things that I look at when people ask me, like, surely you're following somebody, like, how do you get your information? What kind of research do you do to have the confidence to go out there and invest in this space or be part of it? And what I look at is I look at these 5 things internally. Has any core rules changed? Has the emission schedule changed? Is there an update? Is it a major update that affects a particular coin? If we're talking Bitcoin, has the core principle of Bitcoin, 21 million coins, are they still going to be there? Is there a change to that? There have been forks where people have tried different things and that ends up in a new coin, but has something fundamentally changed that is the value proposition that is the strongest yelled during an entire bull market, right? All the different laser eye people you think of, the Bitcoin maxis and all that, like did any of that value proposition change? That's the first thing, because I think that's fundamental to we have to have a baseline that we're working around of what it is. What is cryptocurrency? What's it providing? What's the innovation? Has any of that changed? Now we see in Ethereum's played with those things. They've had a roadmap out there. They're playing with the core rules, right? They're changing the consensus mechanism. And we're going to see it's an experiment. Is proof of stake something you can move to and still hold any kind of validity and structure and confidence that you haven't now introduced a whole bunch of issues from a core standpoint? We're going to find out. I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't cause big issues, but we're going to find out. But that's, that fundamentally changed something with Ethereum. Bitcoin, still core values, still what it's doing. The other piece, number 2, regulation. Is there regulation not in that there's a right or wrong in types of regulation, but does it affect people's ability to participate or not? Bad regulation creates a lot of overhead on any project, right? So if you have all of these rules that you have to now comply with, and you have to involve a whole bunch of lawyers, and you have to wait for permission for things, it slows everything down. Is there right types of regulation that protects people, but also allows innovation? I think we're in the midst of this right now. We're finally now getting some regulatory stuff, at least in the United States. The European Union has put out some regulatory pieces out there. Is it making a fundamental change to the way things operate or not? If there's too much of it, it could create some issue, right? So but you need to balance it where you just don't have a whole bunch of malicious activity happening on it, and it completely saturates any sort of benefit that any of the cryptocurrencies have, right? So regulatory is a strong number 2 for me. So I think core fundamental number 1, regulatory front that could impact people from participating, strong number 2, because it's a direct line of being able to participate or not, and people making decision points there. A third one, a strong third one, and I put this one above even external impacts and even price. Price is very last. Looking at development, is it moving forward? Is there patches happening? Is it being tended to? Is there new features that are being brought on? Ancillary features, secondary market effects. If we're talking layer 2 with Bitcoin with Lightning, with Liquid and the things that are trying to love them or hate them, there's still innovation on top, and the market will decide if that makes sense or not, if there's a place for it. That being said, it's still development in that space to provide more opportunity with that core base layer. Is there development cadence? Are there new features? Are they having any sort of market penetration? This creates the line of progress. It's the continuous iterative loop that I can look at a cryptocurrency project and see, is it moving forward? And is it moving forward with the right intentions? Just not trying to just pump the price, right? That it's actually creating a utility, people want to use it. And then it's answering something. The cryptocurrencies bring something that the traditional markets don't have, and that's a distributed system to where you don't have any one single point of failure. People host nodes, and those nodes have the rules, and those nodes reinforce the rules. So you can't have one entity going in there and messing with stuff without the rest of the network knowing. So for the people that are going to come out and say, well, Cash App does all the digital stuff for me. Well, Cash App's a centralized company and can make a change on a pivot. It's a public company. You have Circle, you have all these other companies that can make decisions for the greater group and not solicit for change and get people to participate in that change, right? So cryptocurrencies have a place, but are they innovating to start answering some of the calls or not? So a strong development path, I think, is number 3. And like those core 3 things right now, by and large, haven't changed a huge amount of the value proposition that was being touted during the bull market, right? So when we look at prices and stuff, and you'll see that in number 5, why I have the confidence, like, well, those 3 main core things haven't changed much. So whatever was happening during the bull is the same thing that's happening in the bear. It's just the prices came down, right? But the value propositions have remained the same. Then we look at external impacts, and this is the existential stuff, such as exchange hacks, exploits, stability of networks. If we talk something like Solana, and I know we're always taking a lot of shots on Solana, but its history is what it is. Hacks, exploits, all those kind of things that could the first 3 are going okay. People can participate. There's no fundamental core changes. Development's working, and then you have an exploit. You have some kind of malicious activity. And sometimes it's white hat hackers, sometimes it's black hat hackers going after some opportunity or arbitrage. But bottom line is it impacts, just somebody trying to use the chain in some way, and or they get rugged, right? And it creates an existential impact on the network. And those effects used to have a lot more sway in the way price worked with it, but now a lot of good stuff will come out and nothing will happen. A lot of bad stuff will come out and nothing will happen. Sometimes the coin goes up in value. So it's not necessarily directly tied to the price standpoint, but does impact that decision tree that I go through and I look through, like, if I'm going to launch a crypto project, what network would I choose for that, right? What's the stability? What's the existential risk on it? I think that's a key piece. You got to kind of weigh those things, but these are all kind of like stacks of decisions on that weigh into any decision that you're making in this space. If you're going to participate, be a miner, that kind of stuff, I think has in it. And then the last one is price performance, price in general, not for the direct revenue side of it initially. So like when you look at it, I look at the price and say, if we're talking a proof of work coin, who can participate in this at this current price point with this difficulty, with the available hardware that could be purchased, and can people participate or not? And I believe this is why we have a channel that's showing people how to participate. Even though we actively participate and are building a larger mine, and we're sharing that with you guys, and you would think that it would be counterproductive from a game theory standpoint of educating people on how to participate with us. I look at it as the stronger the network, because more around the world are participating with it, the stronger security and all that does mean things. It does show the resiliency of a network, and the more people that have a much more efficient operation that start to work through better pricing, better efficiency, better use of stranded power, all of those type of things are beneficial for the entire ecosystem of the network. So we do want to yell that at the top of the mountains for people, like, hey, here's a better place to mine. Here's a cheaper place. Here's where you can get gear. Shameless plug for ASIC Jungle. When we're looking at brokers that can find just in time real deals for us and have delivered, And that allows you something to put in a spreadsheet to go, okay, I can buy something for this price. Here's the network performance. Here's my yield. Can I participate in this or not? And do any of my suppliers take crypto? Can I work this out to help supply and participate in this security of this network and be able to sustain a small business where I could hire people and be part of this ecosystem? So pricing does have an impact on if you're going to participate and not, especially if you're buying into this space. You know, if you're going to invest in this space as a miner, you got to look at that. Price is part of it, but all of these other factors are the key parts that when you're looking at that spreadsheet and you're understanding, okay, math can change, difficulty can change. What are the other things you're looking at? And this is the stuff that I'm looking at. The first one is fundamentally, has the core rules changed? Is the value proposition there? Is regulatory impacts gonna affect us in a way? And that in the US, it can affect you up and down the stack when it comes to federal or state, local municipalities, all the way down to the county level, right? It affects if you're building a mine and that aspect from that. You know, does that have any impact for you to participate or not? And then, of course, you know, the development cadence and operational impact. So these are the 5 things I look at that give me a confidence in the decisions that we make. That in the long term, that we know that, hey, this is the path. And we have confidence in that path. And that's why we're investing in that. And, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, it's speculation. I'm like, well, you know, obviously there's some level of speculation in everything you do and everything in your life you do. And you're speculating that certain things are going to occur. However, you're doing that with some level of data, at least. Like, the value proposition hasn't changed. I'm speculating that that is a good thing because of the decentralized nature of the way things are and no single point of failure. And I want that world. So yes, I'm going to invest in that world. It's not purely from a price speculation. So hopefully this one's a good one for you guys. I get asked this a lot and I was like, what's the top 5 things that we look at? And this is it broken down for you guys. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing. We're going to be covering a ton of stuff coming out in the next week here when it comes to Ergo Pool, Flux, Ravencoin, all these other ancillary networks that you can mine with your GPUs for all you GPU folks that are wondering what happens post ETH merge. And then, of course, covering some stuff with the ETH merge. A lot coming your way. Make sure you guys are liking and subscribing, share the content, and we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.